Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Welcome to 2021, preschool peeps.
Happy New Year.
I've been telling everybody Healthy New Year because I feel like what we've learned in 2020 is that if you don't have your health, you don't have much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
like,
true.
You know, my mother always said that. My grandmother always said that your health is more important than anything. But boy, did we learn that lesson. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah.
Healthy New Year,
Healthy
everybody.
New Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we work our way through it. And we are back after the lost episodes. This is a new episode, but we hope you enjoyed the lost episodes. I know Alison and I hadn't listened to them in almost a year. And so when they came, as they were being released over the last few weeks, we listened and we were just texting each other saying, boy, did I enjoy that.
They were really, really good. So if you missed them, make sure you go back a couple weeks and catch them because they were awesome.
Right. And if you're on YouTube, they're not there.
They're not on YouTube, but you can find them other places.
Yeah, you can find it on other podcast providers.
Yeah.
But today, it's 2021. It's time to forge forward. And I think kind of like if you don't have your health, what have you got? We have to forge forward with other lessons that we're learning. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk about something that Alison and I decided was really being mislabeled, and I'll explain why. There have been a lot of articles and a lot of talk in the news over the past couple of weeks about the learning loss because schools are starting to gather their data about what children's progress was before the winter break and comparing it to prior years, which is just not a fair comparison.
Yeah.
Because were all those school closings. And even now when schools are open, they're open. A classroom might close for 2 weeks. A school might close for 5 days. There's not a steadiness about it. So the school year is definitely very different than any we've experienced before. And that comparison strikes me as a little odd to compare to prior years, except if you want to look at where are the children having gone through this pandemic, what is the comparison? Alison and I decided the label of learning loss isn't quite the right label.
Yeah, because I don't feel like we should be comparing this year to any year prior, because I don't know if you all have noticed, we're in a pandemic, but also that means the way that we are teaching is totally different. I have students that are home all the time, so and students that are with me all the time. But can I compare even those two? No, this is different. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of I don't want to say throw away the previous years because you use it to learn, but you can't compare it. It's totally different.
No, there's been a hard reset done on education, and I'm going to submit that it isn't such a terrible thing. And here's my reasoning. We've talked or those of us in early childhood education have talked for a long time about how curriculums have pushed down, which means that children, things that used to be learned in second grade were now being taught in first grade, and things that were being taught in first grade were being taught in kindergarten. Things that used to be kindergarten skills were being taught in pre-K. That was the push down of the curriculum. And when I went to schools very frequently, I would talk with administrators, teachers, or even at conferences like other professionals and stuff. We would talk about this push down all the time and how it wasn't really great because the children's development really determines a lot of what happens, and they weren't developmentally ready for some of the skills that were being pushed on them, and it was causing children a lot of anxiety, and our expectations got out of whack, and all these things. And I would say, it's a pendulum. This is what I used to explain to people. It's a pendulum. So the pendulum is all the way on one side now, but pendulums always swing back. And people would say to me, do you really think it'll swing back? And I used to say, yes, I do. I believe it'll swing back because pendulums always do, but it's going to take a long time. Well, here's the thing. It was pushed back by COVID-19. It was just shoved, that pendulum, to the other side. And I think the question is that other side really a bad place to be? Because here's what's happening. Remember, I just described second grade work was being done in first grade. Well, now first grade teachers are saying, our second grade teachers are saying, I can't do this work. I have to do first grade work. No, that was actually second grade work for a while.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can help make this make sense as I speak it. I feel like I need a diagram of some kind.
I know.
So, a roadmap. So again, you know, what we used to do in kindergarten had been pushed back to pre-K. Pre-K teachers complained these really are kindergarten skills, but everybody's pressuring us and the curriculum pushed back. So now the pendulum was shoved by the pandemic. So now that work that the pre-K teachers were claiming should be done in kindergarten is being done in kindergarten, and still nobody's happy. And I think one of the reasons why we're not just sitting there going, oh, okay, the pendulum swung and now things are actually more developmentally appropriate has to do with the fact that what has to change now are the human-made expectations, the testing that has been done in the past based on this pushing of the curriculum that is no longer taking place. Am I making sense, Alison?
You're making total sense to me, but you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, that's true. I just want people to understand. If you're thinking, oh, wow, you know, my child is in kindergarten and they're having to do pre-K work. Well, that used to be kindergarten
that
work.
Was kindergarten. When I was in kindergarten, I didn't know any of this stuff. I learned it in kindergarten. Before
all these tests that maybe weren't so realistic, and the competition, the race to the top, quote unquote, all this, oh, we have to do X, Y, and Z to be a blue ribbon school, or we have to do this. When actually what you need to be doing is teaching the children based on who they are, which is what we always should have been doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I don't know when this happened, that they started pushing it down, but then it keeps getting pushed down and down and down. So now, like, when I went to kindergarten, I didn't know anything when I went on that bus on the first day. I didn't know my numbers. I didn't know colors. I didn't know how to spell my name. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know any of it. I learned it all in kindergarten. Okay. I learned all of it in kindergarten. How we got to a point where now, like, in kindergarten, they need to know how to do like physics practically. I don't know. You know, I don't know if it's been slow over time.
I think somewhat, but I think some of it was tied to phrases like race to the top.
Yes.
We have to think about the words that we use. And you and I have said this before in prior episodes. The words that we use always set our environment, set our atmosphere. And I think that was a part of it. I think when people started to take standardized test results, and instead of just determining how curriculum needed to be adjusted, instead started to do things like rate teachers based on it and rate schools based on it. I think that contributed to it. But whatever it did, listen, I think that it's safe to say that even though many, many, many people have struggled and suffered during this pandemic, there were lessons to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think one of those lessons that we need to embrace is, okay, so the children are who they are now. They were not being pushed through this, some expectations that were not developmentally appropriate. We need to just meet them where they are and move them forward. And in fact, we've been talking in educational circles for years about the expectations being too high. So it's not that there was learning loss. There's now a learning reset. And I'm just going to submit that that's a good thing.
It is a very good thing. I want to say, like, I don't think we should be calling it loss at all. Like, this is not loss. The kids are still learning. Like, if they weren't learning, then it'd be like, oh, now they're losing because they're not learning. No, they're still learning. They're just not.
It's just
learning.
Different.
Yeah, they're not learning first grade in kindergarten anymore. They're learning kindergarten in kindergarten. In some cases, pre-K in kindergarten, because half a big chunk of my class didn't even get the second half of their pre-K last year. So yeah, you had to kind of reset where you started. You weren't starting at the same place. So how could you end at the same place?
And those expectations are a human construct.
Yeah.
People made those up.
Yeah.
They made them up. But when you look at actual research, it actually is appropriate for children to actually have a better grasp on things like letters and their sounds in kindergarten.
Yes.
Not pre-K.
Not pre-K.
So when you look at research-based tools, they tell you that the expectation of children to really master that is actually kindergarten. But, everything was set up in such a way that kindergartens were pressured to be, bring the kids in and we're going to do sight words and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They weren't ready yet. And so it's actually okay that we that we sit and we reevaluate the educational systems. And by the way, the educational systems in the United States are never the top tier worldwide. We need to evaluate that again.
And maybe look at that and see why.
Right. Why are countries like Finland always at the top? Why are we not at this point right now when we have hit the reset and aren't quite sure the timing of all this and what's going to happen? When's it going to end? Why are we not looking at what Finland does and going, maybe we need to do more of that as we reset our educational systems?
Yeah. But there's so much of and it's you're preaching to me who totally understands this, but how do we get it through to the people who need to hear it in order to make those changes? Because when you go back as a teacher to school, it's very much even though they say we're going to change this, and this, it's very much nope, just business as usual. And it's no, this isn't business as usual. So much has changed in the world, even just mentally changed. How could you just say, let's go back to the way things were last year? No,
you can't.
No, you can't. But then me as a teacher, you get stuck in the middle of I know what I should be doing. I know where my kids in my class are at, but then you have people above you who be nope, it still has to be business as usual. It's no. So how do we get it through to the people that need to hear it? That's what I struggle with.
There needs to be more advocacy for this. The unions in public schools, the associations for the non-public schools and the preschools need to stand up and say, okay, actually, we all need to reevaluate the expectations that we've had for education and now put them where they need to be in 2021.
Yeah.
Based on the children we have in 2021. The fact that these expectations were even based on kids from the past 10 years has no application this year. None.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we? So for everybody to be wringing their hands and woe is me about quote unquote learning loss. Okay. I feel like I just want everybody to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Yeah. This is a universal situation, which means we can apply a universal outlook, which really should be, okay, so we're going to take a look at what's actually working in other countries. And we're going to take a look at the developmentally appropriate practices that should be happening in schools based on the children's ability and age and all that stuff and development. And we're going to reassess. I think there needs to be a reassessment.
There needs to be a big reassessment.
Big reassessment, because if we don't do that, all we're doing is adding to the anxiety and pressure on these children. And that's the bottom line. It isn't about, people are I heard some people saying, oh, the educational community doesn't want to have to work hard to catch them up. No, that's not how education works. That's not how education works. No. Yeah. No.
And why is this thing we have to catch them up? Why? Why can't we just meet them where
catch them up to what?
To what?
It's
to
a
expectations that are not made for their age group. That's what you're catching them up to. You're catching up kindergartners to be first graders. No, catch them to be kindergartners.
Right.
Let them be kindergartners. Why no, I'm going to meet them where they're at and I'm going to teach them from there. That's not catching up.
100%.
Catching up means I'm going to jam a bunch of curriculum into a week period that maybe used to take me 3 months. That's not appropriate either.
I could catch a kid up who's been absent for a week with the flu or something. I can't catch a kid up who has gone through this pandemic, through the school closures, through the quarantines, through whatever they're going through, through the remote learning
members of their family, possibly you don't know what some of these children have gone through.
Yeah.
And then you're shoving down their throat just to catch them up. No, meet them where they're at and go from there.
And also this whole thing now about, we need to pay attention to their social emotional development. We should have been doing that all along.
We should have been doing that forever. Yes. I don't know why all of a sudden this is an issue. This has always been an issue.
Yes.
There's more anxiety with kids at a much younger age than ever was before. You have by the time they get to middle school, high school, because they haven't had social emotional learning or any of that from a young age. Now they don't know how to deal with it. And then you have a higher depression rate, and even higher anxiety rate, and even higher suicide rate at high school, in some cases, middle school. And that's not okay. We need to change. And it could be because there's so much pressure to
from the
be
time
at a
they're
spot
really
where you're
little.
not supposed to be in. Yeah. And to be like
Yeah.
learning things that your brain is not ready to learn, because developmentally your brain can't process that yet.
And that
That's
goes
not fair
back
to those
to like,
kids.
you know, the early learning years, like the preschools and the child cares. The pressure has been unbelievable. Everybody has complained about the pressure.
Yeah.
Things have changed now and everybody's still like the pressure. No,
The pressure, no, yeah,
release the valve, folks. It's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Right?
You know, why are you still applying pressure? Like I just don't get it.
So I have been guilty of using the phrase learning loss over the past month. I didn't have a better phrase for it.
Yeah, no.
I just didn't have a better phrase for it. And I want schools to acknowledge that there has been a change. So, okay, there's a loss. There has been a loss. We've all suffered a loss through this pandemic of one type or another. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think we need to rephrase that now. The learning reset, the educational reset. And parents and teachers and people who maybe understood that really weird explanation of the pendulum that I gave need to band together. Thank you.
Yeah.
Need to band together and stand up and say, maybe it's not such a bad thing. Maybe we're now putting the expectations where they should be in order to have emotionally healthy children.
Yes.
You know, social emotional health matters so much. And folks, social emotional health isn't a book or a program or a one-day event. It is something that we have to help children live all the time.
Yeah.
I have a colleague. I have a colleague who does a lot of work in the special education world, and she has an article about inclusion. And one of her articles about inclusion is that inclusion isn't a program. It has to be how you live every day. And I'm going to take that from my dear friend, Lisa, and I'm going to say, same for social, emotional, and mental health. It's something we should be living every day. And we were not. We were not when the curriculum was pushing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't living good health for anybody, for the schools under pressure, for the children, for the families who feel all the pressure. Okay.
Teacher, like there was no thought of mental health for anyone involved pre-COVID. I mean, they might have said that they were, but no, not. It's something that's like got to be instilled in you. You know, it's not like, it's like you're saying, like inclusion is not just like this one thing. It's like, no, it's part of you. It's part of your school. It's not
right.
That was not there before.
I'm, you know, and it's such a hard thing to fight against, because just like everything, it all goes back to money and politics.
Yep.
And it has to do with lobbying and financial support and politicians. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, it is.
But ultimately, I think people have to start to use their voices more and to say, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
You know, of course, you know, there's a lot going on in our world that we have to do that about. But I think education and what's going on right now needs to be on that list.
Yeah.
The loss is not such a loss.
It's not really a loss.
It's actually a benefit.
Yeah.
Benefit to the children, benefit to the teachers, and a benefit to everybody if the children are better able to cope.
Yeah. And
you're always going to have children who are ahead of the expectations for their age. So there will always be children in pre-K who can do kindergarten or first grade work. So great, let them do that.
Let them do that.
The majority of children are right where they should be.
Yeah.
Let them do that. You're always going to have some children who are behind the expectations for their age. Let them do that. This has to be part of the reset that we start to go, okay, you know, those settings that have worked so hard to get rid of the cookie cutter mindset about children are actually all right. And now nationwide, we need to really look at our educational expectations.
Yeah.
You know, maybe this will happen in the coming years. I don't know, but
let's hope.
I
Yeah.
just can't believe now how many times I'm saying to people, do you remember when you complained to me about the pendulum being on the other end?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was pushed back now, just like you
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen slowly.
Yeah. No, like, and I think
It happened
kind
in a
of
day.
expected it to go slowly, but it happened in one day, and I know exactly when that day was, which
Yes.
is kind of weird in itself. But now I feel like for all you folks that wanted the pendulum to swing, now's your chance to kind of keep it there, instead of like saying, okay, yeah, no, okay, admin, okay, government, whatever, I'll do what you want. No, now's your chance to be like, no, you know what? That's not appropriate for them, and I'm not going to do it. Now's your chance to kind of advocate to keep that pendulum exactly where you want it to be.
And it may swing too far in the other direction. It could. But that's when you just self-correct a little and bring it back.
Here. Yeah.
Bring it back to the balance, right?
Yeah, you don't want it up here and you don't want it here.
Yeah.
You don't want it extreme on either end. You kind of want it back in the middle. So you
But
might
please,
have a little bit of this.
But please, when it's over here or, on whatever end, don't go over and shove it again.
Shove it again. Yeah.
It needs to slowly settle to where it belongs.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a
all
happy
right.
medium. Yeah.
And so all in all, what we're saying through this episode is not such a loss.
Yeah. Change your mindset on how you're thinking about that learning loss.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's really a loss. To me, if they're still learning, then we're good. We're not
good.
losing anything. We're still gaining,
Yeah. And those expectations weren't written on some old biblical stone. They were written by humans.
Yeah. Recently too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Was there anything else we wanted to tell people, Allison? Do you remember?
I don't think so.
Oh, so there was a prior, I do.
Okay.
A prior episode where I had talked about providing information about, the sort of research and theories and all that we use to inform what we say about young children and inform how we teach young children. And I'm working on that. And what I was thinking was that I was going to actually put some information on our website, Allison, just saying, here are the theories, and
the website. Yeah.
And here are the theories. If you would like to go back and look at the research, the studies, the theories, here's like a resource list for you.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that a lot.
Big believer in personal responsibility. If you want to know more about it, you can look it up.
Yeah. All right, cool.
But we did, during our 100th episode, we did name some names of theorists and researchers.
We did, yeah. I remember that now.
But maybe we'll come up with, Alison and I will come up with the list for the website, and we'll let you know when it's available. But between now and then, Alison, are you doing the closing? Do you remember it? It's been a few weeks.
I think I can maybe scrounge around in my brain to find it. All right. You want to rate us 5 stars anywhere that you can rate us. You can find us on Facebook at How Preschool Teachers Do It podcast. And you can find us also anywhere podcasts are given. The website for when we actually do get that information up there is howpreschoolteachersdoit.com. But you can still go to that website because you can reach us and contact us there. There's a contact form. So if you have any ideas for episodes or any comments about this current or past episode, you can reach us there. And is there anything else that I missed?
I wonder,
a while.
We were ending episodes with 4 words, remember? But I want to change it. It's 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's change it. And we're just going to say that we wish you all, I'm going to start here and we can always change it as we keep going. Ready?
Yeah.
I just want to say that as we sign off, that we wish you all a great deal of hope.
Yeah.
And we will catch you next time on the podcast.
Bye.